All right. Well, good afternoon. I guess we are at the afternoon hour. How's everyone doing today?
Doing good.
All fine.
Doing good. Doing good. Awesome. Awesome. Well, today, hello to our viewers. Glad to have you back again, another Saturday at noon. Today, we are diving into a very important topic, and we will likely focus a lot on Savannah and Chatham County in Southeast Georgia. But we're going to talk about advocacy to save our communities. And so before we get into that, we have two guests with us, Reverend Dr. Leonard Smalls and Dr. Amir Ture. If you all could briefly introduce yourselves. I know Savannah knows you, but we may have new viewers today who may not know who you are. So if you can do a quick introduction of who you are, and we'll get right to our topic.
Okay, I can go first. I'm Reverend Dr. Leonard Small. I'm the pastor of the Litway Missionary Baptist Church here in Savannah for the last 38 years. Grew up a little thug on the street. Went to prison when I was in my 20s. Came back a preacher. I've been involved in civil rights even before I got delivered from the time I was 10, 11 years old. And it's been my life's passion. I've taught nonviolent civil disobedience around the world, Middle East, Far East, Europe, Africa, and right now we're working under Pastor Larry Gordon of the Church, Solomon Temple Church of God in Christ. I'm helping him with trying to preserve the Weeping Time property.
All right, I'm Walter Ray. I'm just a simple urban country Gullah Geechee boy. Streets of Savannah and Hilton Head Island, roads of Hilton Head Island. Connected to Geechee Cool down Riceboro, Georgia. And we say the epicenter of African culture in the Americas, in the U.S. in particular. And I'm headed to St. Helena now for the Gullah Geechee Appreciation Week Family Day. And so what many people know, I tell folks I'm not just tied to Savannah, but I'm tied to the free states with regards to advocacy.
And his phone probably got a little hot there. So Teray will be in and out with us, given his phone capacity. It must be an iPhone. I don't know. Yeah, but switch over to the Androids. I'm trying to tell you.
There you
Well,
go.
I'm on a laptop and it don't want to work right either. Can y'all hear me good?
We hear you good, but sometimes with these laptops, they'll have a delay as well. So even on the good Wi-Fi, sometimes this technology does what it wants to do.
Android
I'm in my
America.
car.
Hey, Androids. I don't have a problem with my Android.
Yeah, I'm on the way to my aunt's funeral, so I'm only going to be here 30 minutes.
Okay. But I can tell you right now, these Android phones handle this software pretty well. So I don't know. What's up with these iPhones. But, Reverend Smalls and Julius, I hope most people in Savannah understand what's going on with Weeping Time. But if you all could kind of give us kind of a backdrop of Weeping Time and how we got to this place, as well as talking about the historical pieces to Savannah's neighborhood development. So how do we get to a west side where our traditional African-American communities are? And so I know that's a lot to talk about, but if we can have that historical backdrop, it will definitely frame our conversation going forward.
You go first, Julia, since you got less time.
Well, I wasn't paying real good attention just now. Because I was
Okay,
trying to
well, I'll
make sure
answer.
There you go. Set them up with success.
Let me answer then. The backdrop is simple. We were ignorant, and people take ignorance as a pejorative term or a term of shame. But when you don't know, you simply don't know. That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It means you've not necessarily been exposed. And so we were ignorant of the fact that we have in Savannah the site of the single largest sale of enslaved people in the history of the United States. That's not a slight thing to overlook or to not preserve. It is a circumstance where if we're going to um, make sure man's inhumanity to man is pointed out so that it won't be repeated, then we have to preserve these types of circumstances for our history and for our posterity. And so once we found out about it, it was after, personally, it was after Lions Parkway was built through it, after the Otis Brock, who's a personal friend of most of us, the elementary school was built. But when we realize what we have left of it, we should not allow the Salvation Army as a proxy for SCAD to build a homeless shelter on this particular property. You cannot tell me in the entire geography of Savannah, Georgia, and we've already pointed out several places to the Salvation Army into the city where they could put this easily. Why would you put it where it would cover up our history and our heritage? Why would you put it here? Dr. Ann Bailey, who wrote the book The Weeping Time, the quintessential Bible for the Weeping Time, said that the Salvation Army could build anywhere. She wrote this letter to the city. The Salvation Army can be built anywhere. There's only one place on earth that can genuinely be called the Weeping Time, and they're trying to desecrate that. Now, as far as the second nexus is, as far as the community is concerned, if you would even if you didn't think in terms of the historicity of the site, would you build in an already depressed neighborhood, or the most depressed, basically, neighborhood in the northern end of Savannah? Would you build a homeless shelter in this area? Because who is going to build anything upscale around it? It doesn't make any sense. It is counterintuitive. And so, besides the fact that African Americans' histories have been thwarted, distorted, and it's simply wiped out in most cases, we who are blessed, who are capable, who don't have to rely on the system because we've accomplished some things, we need to be in this fight. If we don't stand up for this, I don't understand what we might ever stand up.
Sure.
And so it's for the community, but it's also for the world. People from all over the world will come to see the site and commemorate and remember that 429. Yes, Anna Davis, you can go ahead and broadcast it live on the radio station. That's my station down in Jessup, Hinesville area. But we want you to understand that this is extremely, extremely important that we not only watch out for that community, but that we also watch out for our heritage.
And the piggyback on, the pastor said everything that needed to be said, but what we don't really understand is where is the outrage? Where is the outrage from people of color that needs to understand that our heritage is trying to be taken away from us? And if they can just wipe this off, then they can feel like they can wipe off any other thing that they want to at any other time, and we don't matter. So we have to be able to say that we're all on the same page and we are all going to do what we're doing in concert, all together. We have to be able to say that we're going to stop operating in silos. That's all we do. We operate in silos now, and we need to all come together and operate as one. I know some people don't like that word silos, but that's what we're operating in, silos, by ourselves. And we need to show our unity by coming together and demanding the things that we are entitled to. And this is one of the things that we are entitled to.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. All right. Like I said, because I told you on my phone, because I got my phone, I'm driving here to St. Helena and it's overheating. And
we're gonna buy you an Android. We get you an Android now.
Huh?
We need to get you an Android.
That's what it's the Android that overheated.
Oh
Yes,
Lord,
that's what. Yeah, it's the Android because I had it positioned up so people could see me. So that's why I just went and blocked the camera. I got it in my lap. But
okay,
I'm headed to St. Helena right now, and I tell folks this is fitting because I'm saying specifically Queen Quet don't want me over here. This is the Gullah Geechee Appreciation Day. This is Gullah Geechee Family Day, and what I'm supposed to address is the issue of land, the issue
mm,
of land retention. So that's why I say, yeah, I want to get on this because this story is the same story. And I tell folks, I'm just an urban Gullah Geechee country boy from the streets of Savannah, the roads of Hilton Head. And that's why I'm not just in one area, I'm all around. And then Reverend Dr. Small said something about his travels going around the world. This issue, what we're seeing, is the same issue around the entire world for Black folks in particular. I'm talking about Black people right now. So we involved in human rights activity, but we talking about Black folks right now around the entire world, the same issue. Even with the Gaza, and we talk about the weeping time, this is about communities that you're talking about, you're discussing. That is about wiping out communities, getting your story out altogether, and land ownership. Because again, I tell folks, you can't come talking to me about generational success and wealth if you are aiding and abetting with the loss of properties within communities of Black folks.
Mm.
At one time, Liberty County, Georgia, had the largest Black land ownership in the entire state of Georgia.
That's
But
right.
guess what? The same throws, the same issues that we see happening in West Savannah is happening in a popular place. It is happening in Fowler Terrace. It's happening in Old Fort, in 10 City. And so, Julius, when you talk about saying, where's the ire, where's the people being upset? Historically, and for centuries, for decades, we have not. But there were a group of people who did rise up at one point.
Yes.
1958, W.W. Law and NAACP talked about the wiping out of Currytown by
Amen. That's
I-16 and
exactly
the
right.
public housing development. They went and said, they said to the city of Savannah, you all are targeting our communities and wiping us out. You're wiping out Springfield, all of us. But the issue that they had, and Reverend Smalls to be aware of it, that they didn't have the political power then because of the Jim Crowism. What is so crazy today? We got the political power and
Yes.
we are functioning insanely. And I'm like saying, oh my God. So don't try to act like it ain't never happened. Black folks stood up, and I'm not addressing this to Julius, but I'm saying black folks, again, I'm addressing Black folks, which we know this is a Caucasian issue also, but the Black folks, I'm like saying, you not got the power to not right the wrongs and make things correct, but you choose not to do it. And that is insane. And that shows that you don't even respect your own humanity.
yeah, and
That's
it's
correct.
interesting that the weeping time component has expanded, right? And so I live right over here in District 5, which is the beginning, kind of, I guess, of West Savannah. And if you look closely, some of us who get it understand that SCAD and the tourism industry are now given a free pass to just wipe out old Black communities, traditional Black
Mm.
communities. So what's going on in you all's perspective, and what's not going on that should be?
Well, here's
I,
the.
t-
Oh, go ahead, Doc.
I tell folks, I say that when you feel beholden to someone else, you never see your own power. And for so long, we've had super Black majorities on city council. We had Black city managers. We had Black police chiefs, fire chiefs, Black clerk of councils. And we still felt like we were still beholden to other people as opposed to understanding the power. That when you go and look, that with regards to Brookings Institute doing a report and showing the disparities with regards to the home ownership values of homes in Black communities, and the community that one of the cities that they hit was Savannah, Chatham County, Georgia, showed the disparities in that. And I tell folks, and other people ask the question, why is it like that in Savannah when it's a majority Black city? I said, when you feel beholden to someone else, you think that, again, they are better than you, and you listen to them solely, as opposed to being energetic and innovative with regards to how you can truly bring about parity and equity here in a city of people who've been marginalized and doing this poverty dumping and all the other stuff.
Go ahead,
Well, I
Pastor
can
Small.
let me chime in and make sure people understand something. It is innately baffling to me that we have more white citizens in our meetings than black clergy. I'm
Mm.
going to say that again real slow. It is
Yes,
innately
sir.
baffling to me that we have more white citizens in our meetings for the weeping time, which are every Sunday at 4 p.m., basically mirroring the every Sunday meetings we had for the NAACP during the struggle at 4 p.m. at churches all over Savannah. What's happened to our present day clergy? Now,
Mm.
the thing is, when you named this show, you named it for people who will be pushing the agenda, telling the truth, standing up for right. It baffles me. Later today, who works with the DACA people, the citizens who were
Yes,
born
sir.
here,
Mm-hmm.
who the last president kept trying to put out of here. Okay, another lady who grew up in Savannah, but she lives in Rankin, white woman. She's out there with us. Um, a, a, a former Republican who's now not Republican from 30 years ago, John McMaster. He's out there. Where are the because I came up in the movement. I was completely inculcated in the movement at 9 and 10 years old. I remember the Currytown fight. My friends are the
Mm.
people who integrated the schools who I grew up with. The court case was Stell versus Board of Education. Larry Stell, Louis Stell, Ralph Stell, and my playing partner, Carrie Stell, who died when he was 10 years old. The thing was called Stell versus Board of Education. When Martin Luther King came here, early 60s, he walked next to Reverend Stell. Behind him, Reverend Whitehead, Reverend Cleveland, Reverend Benton, preachers.
Yes, sir.
Now you telling me they're going to wipe out our heritage for our children and our children's children, and you're not in the game? And don't tell me that's something about, well, that marching and picketing, that's not my style. Negro, you ain't got no style. You don't have a style. What you're supposed to have is a calling.
Yes,
Jesus
sir.
didn't have a style. He had a charge to keep and a God to glorify. Now you can say the words to the song, but you don't live it in your heart. You don't live it in your life.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. When have you ever showed up for a fight?
Mm.
And I'm not backing away from them. No. And okay, while I'm on my roll, Dr. Brian, please be patient with me.
Are you good?
While I'm on my roll,
We need this history.
okay.
I think that's what's missing now. A lot of us don't know that history.
We're the we're the socially conscious fraternities and sororities,
Oh, you know, I was talking about.
AKAs Alpha, Phi Alpha, 2 Sapphire till I die. Nigga die. Let me get us put up them things. Oh, Lord have mercy. I didn't curse. I don't curse. But every once in a while. And I have to ask because I got Julius put in Facebook prison before. And so y'all apologize. But
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Pastor. You know, where's the fight in these people? They only want to come out when it's a cause for them. We need you to come out when it's a cause for our community.
A gala.
Yeah.
Dress up and look Negro. Dress up and look real Negro.
I'm gonna be listening. I'm on the way to my aunt's funeral. I have to go, but I'll be listening on the way there.
Well, here's if you got chime in, Julius, we got you. We got you there.
And I will share this with the gods. Oh,
go ahead, Teray.
What Reverend Small is saying. This is something that now, and I'll share this with y'all. When some of us go and say that and take those stands and say, where are the ministers? Where are the social civic organizations? Where are they? Then they try to go and hit. Some of us are saying that we are radical, we're militant, we don't like nobody, we always being critical of folks. And I'm like saying, no, it's not. It's about respecting humanity. So I want folks to not get. You heard Reverend Smalls go and say this, Reverend Dr. Smalls, when they say this right here. So you all need to be focused on that and question the so-called leadership and say, are you truly leading us? Or are you guiding us to our demise? And that, or are you just guiding us just to be complacent? So then that way, once again, we still continue to suffer. It is no longer about us suffering. That things need to be open, need to be fair. And yes, you need to have the people to call out and question, because not all of us are crazy and not all of us are blind. So that's why that's what happened. Those who are not blind will go and see things and then will share those things because they have that calling, they have that obligation. So if you are those leaders in those organizations and members of those organizations, that's right. You need to step up to that until the day you die.
Well, and here's the part that weirdly enough don't understand is that same property, we're looking at an issue of gentrification, and that same property and the homes around it, especially in that area, has never, the city has neglected it for years. But when you realize the people you're talking to, some of y'all, you forget that your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers, your legacy is tied to those neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
And you're allowing people to sit here and just let the government bully them around. When you understand that that's your ancestors that built those homes from the ground up, and your lack of care is just basically a slap in the face to your grandmother, great-grandmother, so forth and so on. And so if we're not careful, what we're looking at is a massive takeover called gentrification.
And that's it exactly. And that's the scheme.
Here's
that's how folks,
Terray, you're going out a little bit.
Okay, when you say the go ahead, Terray, go ahead.
I was saying that again to show you how this is a tactic. That's all a part of a scheme. They go do the poverty dumping over there. They then don't have the respect to say they hold on to the legacy of the properties in West Savannah. They don't respect the heritage, say with regard to the weeping time, the story over there. And what happened? You now put more poverty over in that area. And I tell folks that is a template that they use to not devalue the homes even further. So now the structureers could come in and now acquire it. People call them developers. They now come and acquire the property, and then they change the entire complexion of the community. And that's why I tell folks, I use Detroit as an example. They intentionally made Detroit look bad to folks. So what happened? You're not going and able to buy a house for $26,000 in Detroit, but now it's worth nearly $1 million in Detroit. The same place that nobody didn't want to have anything dealings with. And I said, that's the template. That's the game plan. So yes, Brother Brian, that's what's going on. Dr. Smalls putting it out there. And that's what, again, it is all gentrification, all hitting us in our face, trying to do whatever they can.
And here's the thing. And we are prepared. We're preparing to go to court.
Yes, sir.
So here's the thing. What I've observed is simple. If and when we get to the point where we as clergy, we as quote unquote the bourgeoisie, when we get to the point where we've got a nice car and a nice home, and we've decided that what's going to happen to our next generation is not really our concern. Our concern is whether or not we can go to Cancun, whether or not we can be invited to the yacht club. Now I get to do all that and more, but here's the difficulty: how can I go before God if I allow myself to be sold for these pennies? Now these people who were sold in 1859 were sold, and directly after they were sold, a war broke out, and when the Secretary of the Navy and the most famous general in the U.S. Army came to this area, they were met by preachers. ministers from out of Sandfly and from churches downtown, preachers approached the general that burned his way to the sea. Preachers, black preachers, bond slaves, barely free in Reconstruction America. The war wasn't even over. The Emancipation Proclamation, the ink hadn't dried. But these preachers stood up for the community. And like I told you, W.N. Robinson and Benton and Stell, and let me tell you how close I am to Stell. Me and Larry, Ralph Stell have a state saying that we give back and forth. Every Stell is a small, and every small is a Stell. And that case, Stell versus Board of Education, when it was realized who was in it, bombs were sent and killed folk. They sent a bomb and blew up Robbie Robinson on Abercorn Street.
I remember that.
Now, my friend died.
I remember that.
My friend died. And my other friends who are in the clergy don't have an outrage for the desecration of a place that the Jews, the Jewish people in our community, if it was them, you couldn't build it here. It wouldn't be a question. If it was something about white folks in the tragedy, you couldn't move it.
Yes, sir.
No, it wouldn't be a question. The question for me then is, if they love the Civil War enough to have and fight for to keep the largest monument in Savannah, in the middle of the park, that's central to Savannah's downtown historic district, and the largest monument is dedicated to the Confederation, and they fight to keep that. Even our mayor, and we got 7 blacks on city council, that thing should be gone. If they can take Robert E. Lee and jack him up on a crane and take him and his horse off, what are we waiting for? See, this is what's bugging me about Savannah. And I'm 70 years old. I'm tired, but I'm also tired of us not doing what we're supposed to do. And that's why we're still as broke as we've ever been. We're still as easy to be bought out from under, looking after the people we promised. Because I'm telling you, and this is the Watch Dawgs, and this is what I'm watching. I'm watching how me and Dietrich and Linda and Alicia and Julius sat around a table in Bond's restaurant and planned their elections. And the promises they made at that table. And by the time their butts hit those chairs, they started breaking all those promises immediately. And I dare anybody with any degree of articulation and insight to tell me one thing that's been proposed to relieve the suffering of the people they promised to help. Just tell me one thing, one great initiative that was actually, now I ain't talking about no task force. That's a task force lie. Just tell me one thing that they have done that really, really, really would affect poor people. And I'm saying we need to do this. And we need to get, we need to say the buck stops here and the buck stops now. And that's where I am.
Just to add a little levity to this, just to let you all know that the Stells, the next generation after that lawsuit, they attended Herschel V. Jenkins High School. Just let y'all know that. I just had
it wasn't their fault.
Information. Just
it wasn't their fault.
but Reverend Dr. Smalls is absolutely correct.
That was a sin and a shame.
Yes. I'll move on now. But he's absolutely correct that you got to look at people and say, wait a minute, what are we doing? That are you truly looking out for the next generation? No, you're not looking out for the next generation. You're looking out for a group of your own, and that's it. That you not continue to have a permanent underclass here. When I'm like, when all of us do better, I mean, it's just simple. When we take care of better, I mean, that is like the thing, the insanity of all this, right? I keep saying, wait a minute. If we take care of the least in the community, everybody would be
Yeah.
better. Because that means we,
Yeah.
it's like the rising tide. That's why I'm like, why do we not understand that? And why do we shy away from it? And yes, you will not find Caucasian Jews allowing that type of stuff, desecration to happen.
No.
Oh, so look here, we got some service people here at the house, so I'll be back and forth, Reverend Smalls and Dr. Teray.
I
But
understand. I
our
understand.
next look here, it's a busy Saturday. The next piece we want to talk about is if y'all could talk about not just weeping time, but you shared with me the other day how SCAD has been giving us free will to just buy up all this property. If you could share with the people what's really going on in front of our eyes.
Well, here's the thing. SCAD wants the property. That's the incentive. It's not the Salvation Army is not trying to expand because of services. They could actually build what they're trying to build on the lot where they are. But the incentive is that SCAD wants it. And SCAD has been so extraordinarily deceptive in their practices. They bought Chatham Apartments on Abercorn Street, and which was housing people on SSI and all types of people who were invalid and needed Americans with disabilities, functionings, and things of that nature. And so they bought that with a straw buyer. In other words, they bought it hiding their hand. But as soon as they bought it, of course, as soon as the straw buyer bought it, it was transferred to SCAD. Now, what most people don't know is this thing is a juggernaut. This is a bulldozer being pushed over us. If when it started out the first of this year, if the Salvation Army had not already bought the property, and they hadn't at that point, and we were still discussing it and it had not been approved, then why would the sale have already gone through? I'm telling everybody right now what's happened. The sale of the land called the Weeping Time was transferred on a sale based on what we've researched on May the 14th. A good buyer would never buy a piece of property if there was a question as to the suitability of that property to be used. But they're believing they're going to be able to force our hands, and the game is rigged. However, we are answering these questions, and we are going to fight, and we do have some monies, and we're still raising monies, but we've got the money it's going to take for the court fight. One of the shames is we're going to be fighting against deep pocket Savannah College of Art and Design. And some of you would say, well, Pastor Maul, y'all can't win. Sure we can. I fought with less and prevailed before. And that's what we did from the 60s up till now. And I know some of you say, well, Pastor Maul, I can't get out there and walk up and down the street because, that's just not my style. I don't understand you. Is it your style in this current age to keep allowing us to be shot down and as if we're dogs? We were sold as if we were animals. We were sold as if we were animals. Now, and he said, well, that was a long time ago. We're still being sold. It's just a different way of doing it. We're being moved out. We're being displaced, basically like there was at the Weeping Time. And the chief displacer in Savannah is Savannah College of Art and Design. Now, it's being done by the Salvation Army, but the Salvation Army is simply the last in a series of puppets, because the Savannah College of Art and Design are the puppeteers. They have bought everything from Montgomery and Victory Drive all the way to Victory Drive and Bull. They have bought everything except two properties on the east side of Montgomery Street from Victory Drive in Montgomery all the way to 49th Street. Everything but 2 properties. And they are buying everything on the west side of that street. So far, they still got McDonald's, a service station, and AutoZone. Oh, yeah, and auto repair shop. But trust me, that juggernaut is pushing its way down the track. We are being displaced, and we're going to, we can't stop Salvation Army from being bought. It's in their economic best interest, but they cannot put their new place on this land. And until it's actually built, even if it's built, it can still be reclaimed by a new administration through eminent domain. And I'm telling you, whatever it takes, as long as God gives me breath, we're going to fight to preserve what's left of the Weeping Time property. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And with regards to what we've shared with folks is that there are just 2 Black communities left in what we call the SCAD quarter, and that is all about still maintaining things for themselves. And one of the things that really got some of us, they had said about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we started hearing these rumors where they were saying that the students for SCAD were scared to walk around the homeless people. And we told folks, well, they knew what was going on when they created everything over there, put everything over there. They knew what was happening. So now all of a sudden, y'all gonna try to change the dynamics and make it seem like, oh, they're afraid, when it really was never about the students. It's about them basically regentrifying the community, like folks have done in places like Harlem, where you have University, Columbia University, acquiring property and now basically displacing people in communities that were formerly Black. And in fact, folks who attended Columbia at times were told, do not wear your Columbia paraphernalia in Harlem, because Black folks were mad about what was happening.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh,
Sound like he's playing the piano.
I must be bad luck to Sheree. He gets choppy when I'm around.
Dr. Brian, sound like he played the piano, don't know how to play it.
Oh no, you ain't gonna let him play on Sunday, huh?
Not in my church.
Well, you mentioned a few city leaders a moment ago, or politicians. We'll be nice today, but what I'm concerned about is how our city leaders, or some, are just bullying this process and ignoring the will of the citizens. I was on Facebook one day and I was posting about the Weeping Time in particular, and someone posted, hey, well, the city hired a surveyor, and the surveyor said this, and my response was, I don't care what the surveyor said. The people, the citizens of that community, said they don't want that. I bet you won't go over there and put that over there on Haversham Street in Haversham Woods, like you said. So what's going on with our city leaders ignoring the will of the citizens?
Well, here's the other thing. Why don't we just take time and read? Why don't we just slow down and read? I was one of the official readers on a dissertation recently for one of the sons of our church, who got his doctorate a few months ago from Dallas Theological Seminary, and he wrote a book, and this is the book here. It's upside down, like President Trump held a Bible in front of the church. But anyway, Dr. Frank Glover, who happened to go to Johnson and got a good education, Brother Torrey. But what I want you to understand is he wrote the book, and Torrey is on his way there now. The original development of Christianity on St. Helena Island, South Carolina, amongst the Gullah people. This is his dissertation in my hand. I was a reader on that dissertation. Official list. They got my signature and stuff inside this book. Now, here's the thing. Because I read stuff like that, I'm well suited to read things like that report. And so, as a critical reader, you start reading, and I didn't get through the first paragraph before their bias showed up. So this is a Watch Dawgs program, and I'm trying to get you to understand that we are actually working this. This is not just emotion. This is not just hyperbole. Okay, we're not just acting out. But I want you to hear this first part of this first paragraph. The project is located near the vicinity of the historic Ten Brook race course, where the largest sale of enslaved Africans in Georgia, known as the Weeping Time, occurred March 2nd and 3rd, 1859. Now listen to what it says. The largest sale of enslaved Africans in Georgia. Everybody on earth, just about, in the academic world, knows that it's the largest slave sale in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But if the people who are writing the report show their bias in their first paragraph by trying to mitigate the value and minimize the impact of the event, their bias is already written in their first paragraph. And that's just critical reading. That's just critical thinking. That's just comprehension. And it didn't take a lot to know that. And the second thing, wait a minute, their last real statement in this, they say that the Salvation Army property is going to be 11 acres. Now, these are supposed to be the experts. The deed that the Salvation Army has is for 16 acres. By that token alone, their survey is bogus, just on its face. And just because these supposed to be quote unquote experts, because they wrote a report, I'm trying to figure out why Black folk have not figured out that white people in certain areas and Black people also have done treaties signed by government officials, and then they tore them up. They did it to the American Indians. They did it to the deals we made at the Philippines. They did it with the Houthis over in Syria last year. They abandoned those people. They abandoned the people who helped us sustain that area. So don't take the official line. Do some research.
Mm-hmm.
We are crafting an answer with the flaws of their report to be sent. And here's they're always trying to hide the ball. Michael Brown put out into the public that the report was going to the Department of Community Affairs. That's where it was supposed to be going. The report never went to the Department of Community Affairs. We were searching and fighting and being frustrated. So on Thursday, I left the picket line, went up to find out exactly where it was in Atlanta. Searched around, it's at the Department of Natural Resources. Okay, and the time frame he said when it was supposed to have gone, it went earlier, and the time frame for them to look at it and bring it back was going to be earlier, so we could have missed the boat had we not been vigilant. This whole thing, you got to understand, these people are tricksters. These people are disingenuous, and what most people don't know, when Michael Brown didn't have his way at the city with who he was going to promote to be the chief of police, he said if he ever promoted, if Lovett became the chief, he would quit. He had to make Lovett the chief, and he quit the next day. And the other day, soon as they said they wasn't going to put the person in he wanted for the city manager, he quit. He quit. And to cover up the travesty of him quitting, they made up a lie on Keisha Carter that she had done some cursing, and it never happened. The cursing never happened. The attorney for the city who was in the room has said flat out it did not take place. And so We'd better stop letting them trick us, flip the script on us, and bamboozle us. We've got to take our time to read, study, and listen and pay attention, because it'll be like the old people used to say, if we don't, the cat's going to eat our supper.
That's deep. So, gentlemen, as we close out, we got about 7 minutes here. What can people do, or what would you all like people to do or see to, as far as advocacy and being engaged with not only just weeping time, but this gentrification process? What can folks do?
Well, the first thing I would ask them to do is come to the meeting tomorrow at 4:00. Come with any and all issues, because the Weeping Time Coalition is exactly that. It is a coalition. We come together on a lot of different issues. Some people said the other day that when we married present day crime in the Weeping Time, that we shouldn't have been going all over there. Caring people care. Caring people care. You got a Better Savannah. You've got Black Voters Matter. You've got Unity Political Action Committee. You've got just several different groups. Okay, and all of those groups, you got Hello Neighbor. All of those groups have come together for this cause, but they are a collective caring for every cause. And for those who think this is just a Black issue, basically 40%. We've never had a meeting when we didn't have white folks in it. We've never had a meeting at times when we've had meetings at times when there were more white people than Black people. So I want all the Black people who are scared that this is going to taint them to come to the meeting and do your inputs instead of on Facebook. Do your input in the room. This is not a dictatorship, and for those of you who have an aversion to me, I'm not the head of this. Pastor Larry Gordon, pastor of the Solomon Temple Church of God in Christ, he is the leader of this movement. I do what he tells me to do. He uses, and I'm serious, because I'm a good soldier. I'm a good soldier. Whatever he tells me not to do, I don't do. We don't always agree, but he's always the leader.
I understand it. Brother Terrell, are you still with us? I see him coming in and out, but I think he's over in St. Helena Island. But we'll go ahead and close out with our final comments. But, my final comments, based on our conversation today, and I think Terrell is trying to come back in. Let me give him a minute. Brother Terrell, are you with us? Even if you just do audio. All right, you may just have to do audio, but we were gonna get your final.
Cut your video off, and that'll give you more space on the band.
Yeah.
Just do your audio, Doc.
You might be in a bad area.
Yeah, he's in a bad area. Probably between towers.
Yes, I'm here.
Kill your video, and you'll have more access.
Yeah,
it's kind of choppy there. We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and close it. And I'm going to use John Master's quote here. Hold on.
He doesn't have a good tower.
So I'm going to use John McMaster's quote. It says, "The majority of council protects business as usual." And when you become an elected official, your role is to protect the people, not to protect the corporate greed. The thing that saddens me about this whole situation is we have individuals who are a part of our leadership who don't understand the history and the value of these neighborhoods in West Savannah. In fact, if you look at West Savannah, if you understand what I'm talking about, that whole area has been neglected for years, even when mayor was an alderman. Yes. So, I'm confused as to why they're still playing this smoke and mirrors game where you want to, as I told someone on Facebook, put a shelter in that area to decrease home value of the area and homes, which gives you an easy picking to begin that regentrification process. Some people may be fooled. Some people who don't experience or don't live with this skin color can say, well, that's not the case. Well, it is the case. I can tell you firsthand. It's one of the main reasons why Kasim Reed pushed all the homeless folk off of Pine Street in Atlanta to begin that
That's
process
right.
of gentrification.
That's
Let's not
right.
play it. I'm not, one thing about me, I don't sugarcoat it. And as I tell my good friends and family and folks over here in District 5, y'all can go in and quit call Mayor, have your folks to stop quit calling these folks, asking them to sell their homes, because that's what's going on right now, folks. If you didn't know, you got folk calling folk in Liberty City, Cloverdale, Tatumville to sell
Yeah.
their homes. You know why? Because they want to build a movie theater over here and begin the process of takeover. But don't sell. If you know you've got parents or family in these areas, don't sell.
Mhm. That's where your value is. And if you got to remember, they might make some more money, but they're not going to be able to make any more land.
That's right.
They're not going to be able to make any more land. And of all the investments you've got, the one that will consistently gain value is property over time. There's no question about it. I do want to make this observation. They're not playing fair. And I need to, because this is the Watch Dawgs, and what a watchman does, or what a watchdog does, is he barks when there's danger at the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells you when the stranger's coming. Okay. Now here's the key. They kept using this phrase that the community associations of West Savannah, and particularly Woodsville, were in favor of the shelter being put on this property. Listen to this very carefully. Woodsville never voted at all. The letter for Woodsville approving it came unilaterally from Mr. Ware. When asked in their last community meeting by Bernetta Lanier Bryant, what were you thinking when y'all voted for this? The secretary immediately said, we never voted for that. That's not in the record. Then last Tuesday night, they went over to the meeting for the West Savannah community. And when they got over there, it's the same thing. But when you read her letter endorsing it, she says it was the president and advisors. The community association has never voted to approve this process. Lastly, they don't play fair. Why then would Marsha Buford, of all the people who's championing and carrying Skaggs water, why would she be the one to file a complaint against Pastor Gordon's property? And they're threatening to make him tear down a fence that he just built. Why would Marsha, of all the people, why would Pastor Buford, of all the people? But this is not strange. We've had this event. Sometimes we have people sitting around trying to figure out what they can do to us to make the people in power be grateful to them, because that's how they feel that their bread is going to be buttered. I'm trying to make it as plain as possible that we are in trouble because we have enemies without and we have apathy within.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still of the mind that ministers are not getting involved because they're more concerned with their pocketbooks than their people.
All right. You said it. You heard it here first, folks. Well, thank you, Reverend Small and Dr. Toure, for joining us today. We'll be back next Saturday, folks. Same time, hopefully same place. We appreciate it, and definitely share. This is an important topic, and if you get involved and you have advocate, we can maybe change the narrative. All right. Have a great weekend, the remainder of your weekend. We'll see you back next week. Thank you, Dr. Small.
On the wall. Be blessed.